year is 1775. Inside a small Swedish pharmacy, a chemist named Carl Wilhelm Scheele is performing an experiment. Scheele is already known for discovering new elements and gases. He would even independently discover oxygen, though history would later credit others for it. But on this night, he creates something different. He mixes arsenic compounds with copper salts, and suddenly in his flask appears the most extraordinary green imaginable. Not muddy, not grayish, not the dull, lifeless greens that painters had struggled with for centuries. This was vivid, saturated, and alive. Scheele stared at his creation, and he knew two things immediately. First, this pigment will change art and fashion forever. It is cheap, it is stable, and it is breathtakingly bright. Second, it is deadly, because this green contains arsenic, one of the most lethal poisons known to humanity. But this is the 18th century. Arsenic is already used in cosmetics, medicine, and even food coloring in tiny doses. And Scheele has just invented the most beautiful pigment the world has ever seen. So he makes a decision to release it, and the world buys it without hesitation. This is the story of Scheele's green, the color that conquered the world and quietly poisoned it. By the early 1800s, Scheele's green spread across Europe and America. And when the Victorian era began in 1837, the obsession exploded. This era unfolded during the Industrial Revolution, when cities were choking with smoke, poverty, and desperation. And into that gray world, this impossible green exploded with life. Wallpaper manufacturers coat their designs in it. Artificial flowers for hats and dresses were dusted in green powder. Candles, toys, book covers, carpets, everything glows green. Entire homes became shrines to this color. The famous designer William Morris used Scheele's green extensively in his hugely popular wallpaper designs. Even Queen Victoria herself was sketched wearing a magnificent green ball gown. Green became the color of life, youth, and status. But behind the beauty, something is already going wrong. Now, if you're someone who loves the color green today, you wear it constantly. You'd paint every wall in your house green if you could. Consider yourself incredibly lucky, because if you lived during the Victorian era with that same passion for green, your love for this color could have literally killed you. But before we continue with this dark tale, let me introduce myself properly. This is Artimentary, a channel dedicated to exploring the fascinating, sometimes beautiful, sometimes terrifying world of art and the stories behind them. If you're someone who loves art, colors, paintings, or just finds yourself captivated by the hidden histories of the things we see every day, then you found your home. Now back to the horror. At first, no one understood what was happening. Children were wasting away in bright green nurseries, mysteriously falling ill with fevers and convulsions. Ironically, when people in these nurseries or rooms became sick, they were often put to bed in those very spaces where the arsenic would ultimately kill them. Women in fashionable green dresses collapse at balls with nausea and weakness. Families moving into newly wallpapered homes would find themselves plagued by unexplained sickness. The arsenic was attacking them in ways they couldn't see. As the wallpaper dries, tiny particles of the pigment would flake off, float through the atmosphere, and get into foods. Even people breathed it in while they slept, thereby poisoning them. Perhaps the most famous victim was Napoleon Bonaparte himself. During his exile on St. Helena, Napoleon lived in a house decorated almost entirely in green. When he died in 1821, the official cause was stomach cancer, but later analysis of his hair revealed massive amounts of arsenic. Did the wallpaper kill him? Historians still debate, but one thing is undeniable. Arsenic was inside his body. But the most horrific victim was not a king. She was a 19-year-old factory worker named Matilda Scheele. Matilda worked in a factory that produced artificial flowers for ladies' hats and dresses. Her job was to dust fabric petals and leaves with green powder, and this powder was Scheele's green. For a year, Matilda had been getting sick. Each time, she'd recover slightly and return to work. But in a short period, she'll become ill again. When Matilda's final illness came, it was horrific. She vomited green water, the whites of her eyes turned green, and she foamed at the mouth, unable to breathe properly. In her delirium, she told her doctor that everything she looked at was green. The autopsy revealed that arsenic had invaded every major organ in her body, making her organs saturated with poison. Matilda Scheele died in 1861, drowned in the very color she helped create. But what was even darker was that her sister also died under similar circumstances. By the late 1850s, the truth was no longer hidden. British doctors were openly discussing what they called the great deal of slow poisoning occurring throughout the country. In 1858, an arsenic-laced candy killed 21 people in Bradford, and it made national headlines. The evidence was overwhelming. The deaths were documented. The danger was known. And still, production continued because green was too profitable. Even William Morris, the famous designer who championed worker safety and organic materials, refused to believe arsenic was dangerous. When doctors warned him, he dismissed them, claiming they were bitten by witch fever. What the public didn't know was this: Morris was a shareholder in a copper mine where arsenic was a major byproduct. Eventually, under crushing public pressure, Morris stopped using arsenic pigments in the 1870s. And what of the man who created the color? 9 years after inventing Scheele's green, Carl Wilhelm Scheele began suffering severe kidney failure and skin disease. He worked endlessly in a poorly ventilated laboratory, handling poisons with bare hands. On May 21, 1786, at the age of just 43, Scheele died. The official cause was listed as illness, but everyone who knew him suspected the truth. The deadliest green of the century may have claimed its creator first. Due to multiple occurring deaths, the society was forced to confront what it had been ignoring. Women's groups, including the Ladies' Sanitary Association, began campaigning against the Scheele green and other arsenic dyes. Medical professionals grew more vocal. The press became relentless, and slowly, the fashion world began to change. Britain passed its first Arsenic Act in 1851, regulating poison sales. At the same time, safer synthetic dyes entered the market, and slowly, the color that once ruled the world began to disappear. In 1874, an American doctor named Robert Clark Kedzie published a book titled Shadows from the Walls of Death to warn the public about arsenical wallpaper. The book contained real samples of toxic wallpaper, making the book itself poisonous, but only a few copies survive till today. Today, items containing Scheele's green exist only in museums. Modern manufacturers have recreated the color of Scheele's green using non-toxic pigments, but it's not quite the same, as they lack the brilliance the original one had. Scheele's green was not just a color, it was a silent epidemic, a beautiful lie painted across an entire generation. And somewhere, behind museum glass, the deadliest color ever sold to the public is still quietly glowing.